This is the moment you've all been waiting for. It's time to watch Fred Talks Fighting.
This is Fred Beck from Fred Talks Fighting. Today, I'm very lucky to be joined by Carl Greaves. So thank you very much for coming on, Carl.
Hey, you're welcome, Fred. Thank you.
So, Carl, you've got an awesome background at the back there. What is gloves? I've only got blue in the pictures and the glove. What are some of those gloves you got back there?
I've got them signed by numerous people. We've got Barrera, Baron McGuigan, myself, Joe Calzake, Roy Jones, Ricky Hatton, Roberto Duran and Mosley, Morales and Barrera again, Nigel Benn, Steve Collins. Yeah, they're just people I've had over the years. When I've done after dinner speaking events, I always get them to sign a glove for me, and I thought it'd be nice to get it up on in a nice case.
Yeah, it looks really good. Doesn't sound like there's no one you haven't got. So we'll just go straight into the fight. It would have been 17 years next month since you last were at Wembley Arena when you fought defending your WBF title against Carl Johnson. How did it feel finally feel you back in Wembley Arena for a fight that had been called off so many times?
Yeah, I mean, when I was driving there, it was just all coming back to me. Good memories. And then when I actually got in the arena myself, the backstage of it had not changed too much. I know it's been revamped and had a refurbishment, but yeah, it brought back a lot of memories. Some good, some bad, but yeah, it was great to be back.
For the game plan for the David Avanesyan and Josh Kelly fight, I think you deserve a lot of credit for that because it was the perfect one. When you're fighting,
yeah, I mean, I'd worked on it a lot. Like I've said to people before, I studied Josh Kelly more than any other fighter I've ever studied before. And his last 3 fights said it all showed me all what I needed to know. So, yeah, I thought I got it spot on. I mean, obviously I set the game plan out, but David executed it perfectly. So, I mean, obviously we both take a lot of credit for it, but I mean, it was David that executed it. So, and obviously giving a game plan and doing it is very difficult, but he managed to pull it off.
I mean, when you're fighting a boxer like Josh Kelly, he needs a lot of room to get their work off. You don't want to be giving them space. You want to be keeping the pressure on them. And yeah, he managed to execute that really well. And after the first round, what was going through your head then?
Went exactly how I expected. I knew Josh would start well. I knew he'd make David miss at times. It'd be very sharp, and the first couple of rounds was always going to be difficult. I just said to David, look, keep tight, don't give him nothing, don't get caught of anything. But in the second round, he got caught of a cracking left hook. I think it looked a lot worse than what it actually was. I spoke to David and he said it never really bothered him. It was more of a balance thing. But after that, we had to be careful while Josh was still lively and still fresh. But I just knew bit by bit, if David just kept working, making Josh work, taking him out of his comfort zone, then things would the tide would start to change and turn, and which happened. And finally, he got him out of there. But he got him out of there sooner than they expected. I thought it'd be 5 or 6 rounds before he started getting to him. But it was end of the middle of the fourth round, he started getting to him. Had a good 5th round and then took him out in the 6th.
I think David got some good body shots in there, but when you're watching it on the TV, you don't necessarily see, but in person, you do see a lot of those body shots. And lots of people thought that it would end maybe for David's side in this 8th or 7th round, but after a brutal 5th round of Josh bleeding, going into the 6th round, what were you thinking?
I just was really happy because it was coming together perfectly. David was getting confident, more and more confident. As soon as he started closing the gap and hurting Josh, his confidence was rising. Josh was starting to tire, get fatigued, and it was absolutely perfect. When he went out in there in the 6th round, though, I didn't expect it to be ending in that round. I thought I'd give it another round or 2 and he'd get Josh out of there. But like I said, he got him out there earlier than expected.
And how did it feel to finally get the win after all the cancellations?
It was all ecstatic, obviously. Myself, Neil Marsh, David's manager, and Alan Levine and Eric Teemer were a real tight-knit team. You know what I mean? It's a unique team from all different parts of the country and the world. And yeah, it was very, very satisfying after all what had gone off, the build-up over 2 years in the making. This fight, it was on, it was off, it was on again. And finally, we put it to bed and we can move on.
And then now David's got another great win on his resume of Josh Kelly. What do you think's next for David Avanesyan?
I think he deserves a world title fight, if not a world title fight. Definitely a final eliminator for a world title. I mean, he's ranked number 5 across all the top organisations now, all the governing bodies. So I think Eddie will work his magic. He's got 1 fight left on the contract. Obviously, if he wins or even if he loses, he'll probably get renewed. I mean, Eddie really likes him. He knows he's a true warrior. He knows he's had it tough all his career. I mean, Neil's done an amazing job managing him, getting him in these positions, and now he's pushed him on to the biggest promoter in the world, possibly, and he can definitely get him a world title fight. If anybody can, Eddie can.
Exactly true. And Eddie said before he wants to see David in a world title fight. And I was thinking yesterday, I was watching Errol Spence versus Sean Porter, and Sean Porter and David have both got kind of the same come forward style. So I think Spence, who has the WBC and IBF title, I think that'd be an excellent fight for David. And for David's opponent,
Yeah,
so hey, go ahead, sir.
yeah, it would. I mean, funny enough, David likes fighters that come to him. He don't like going hunting them down. I mean, it's a bit harder work for him. That's why it was a bit of a banana skin, the Kelly fight. We was always very, very confident, but we also knew that Kelly did have the style to give David a lot of trouble. And if he could keep it up in them first 2 rounds, the rest of the fight, he'd be a big superstar, Josh would. You know what I mean? He would be the next Floyd Mayweather of Britain because he's very, very talented. But we just knew that he couldn't keep it up. He couldn't sustain it. Like I said, the last 3 fights I've watched, Josh has told me all I needed to know. So David, like I say, David likes kids that come at him, come to give him material. And he's getting stronger all the time. And that would really suit him. You know, somebody like Sean Porter.
And that'd be a great fight. And why do you think it is that Josh Kelly tires so soon in a way?
I think his struggles at the weight is very, very big for welterweight. I mean, David got in the ring, like I've told people at about 11 stone 8, just put over a stone on. But Josh looked a size bigger than David still. I mean, he's got massive legs. You look at the size difference in the legs, and that's where a lot of Josh's weight is. And I guarantee he was over the 12 stone mark, and it's too heavy. You can't be falling down to 10-7 and getting in the ring at that sort of weight and being able to perform, because it will catch up with you. You've rehydrated a lot, I know, but it takes a lot out of you getting down to 10 stone 7. And in them sort of hard, grueling fights, it will catch up. And he's been getting away with it because obviously he's been fighting. He was a bit younger, and obviously he's getting more muscle mass now, and he's still making the same weight. And he's not been fighting the level opposition of David, other than Ray Robinson, who gave him all sorts of problems. But I just knew that Ray Robinson wasn't as good as David, even though he's got that draw over Kowalowski, and Kowalowski stopped David. I just knew style-wise that David would be far, far more trouble for Josh Kelly than what Robinson was. And so I think that's one of the factors. And I just think he might be one of these fighters that don't adapt to the pro game. I mean, he was a fantastic amateur, former Olympian superstar. I mean, rising star of British boxing. But there's something missing. And whether it's the weight or whether he's just not going to be able to adapt to professional boxing, I'm not saying adapt because he's a very, very good fighter, but I'm on about in the hard, grueling championship rounds. He gets tough and he tires, and that's what's going to be the downfall of him in the top level, I think.
In a way, it might have been a bit of a wake-up call for Josh Kelly. But I want to get your incredible coach and incredible analysis. I want to get your thoughts on a couple of upcoming fights. We'll start with the Canelo fight against Yildirim this weekend in Miami. What are your thoughts on that fight, and how quickly do you think Canelo gets him out of there?
I think it's a total mismatch, to be honest. But let's be honest, Canelo deserves an easy night. You know what I mean? He's just had his mandatory or whatever it was against Callum Smith, which turned out an easy night for him, to be honest, because he's that good. And then obviously after this fight, he's got the next contender, which is Billy Joe Saunders. So in the middle of it, he's slotting in a nice routine defence. On paper, it's a complete mismatch, but you never know in boxing, do you? But I expect him to get him out there within 6 rounds, to be fair. But we'll see. I mean, he's tough, that Yildirim, and he looks like he's quite big. He's trained hard, but if you've got the likes of Chris Eubank beating him, I think the likes of Canelo, who's elite, top fighter, should be getting him out of there.
Yildirim has losses to Eubank and Anchi Darrell, and it'll be twice in 10 weeks that Canelo's fighting. In providing Canelo gets the win, which most likely he will, Eddie Hearn says that the matchup between him and Billy Joe Saunders is upcoming and it's going to happen. How do you think Billy Joe Saunders matches up against an opponent like Canelo?
Billy Joe Saunders could be a bit like Billy Joe Saunders against Canelo could be a bit like David Avanesyan against Josh Kelly, in my opinion. Billy's got all the attributes and the skill set to give Canelo problems early doors. But I just think Canelo's that good, that strong, that physical. And he'll start eating Billy's body and training Billy. And I think he'll probably get him out there. I don't expect in 6 rounds, but I would say probably a mid to late stoppage. Billy is very, very good. He's very talented. He's got great skills, great footwork. But you're talking levels in the end of the day. I mean, look at the caliber of opponents that Canelo's been in with compared to Billy Joe Saunders. Not all through Billy's fault, but I think it's a tough task for Billy, in my opinion.
I think the quality of opponents is one of the problems that Callum Smith had against Canelo. He hasn't been in there for the likes of Golovkin and all the opponents that Canelo's faced. Anyway, I've only got one more question because I don't want to take up too much of your time. Bill, you are a very good professional boxer. You're a British champion. For any upcoming pros watching this, do you have any advice for them?
Yeah, I mean, boxing's very, very tough. It's a very difficult game. I mean, but one loss doesn't end your career. It can either make or break, like I've said in interviews before, especially when they've been asking me what I think is going to happen with Josh Kelly. It can either make or break. I lost 4 of my first 12. I won my first 6, then lost 4 of my next 6. A lot of people might have chucked the towel in, but I persevered. I put my wrongs right. Went on a winning run of 12 contests over 3 years. Fought for the British title. I don't think I was out of my depth ability-wise, but I think the experience of being on a big platform with the media and press conference, I wasn't ready for that sort of attention. Got beat by Gomez, regrouped, had a few more wins. Got another British title fight against Alex Arthur. It was very, very special at the time. Gave him a good fight, in my opinion. I was in the fight for 4 or 5 rounds, and then his body punching broke through and he stopped me on my feet. So, yeah, I mean, I ended up losing 3 of my last 27 to Gomez, Arthur and Johansson. I mean, I can be very, very proud of what I've achieved, considering that I never went away on training with these big trainers and training camps and all that. I always stayed local, apart from the stints that I had in Gibraltar. But my advice is just listen, persevere, keep training hard, keep working hard, make sure you eat the right things. Weight's a very, very important thing in professional boxing, in my opinion. You've got to get your weight right. You've got to do it properly. Getting in that ring rehydrated and strong and healthy and not taking too much off. And so keep plodding on and the results will come.
I think that's an excellent advice. Thank you, Carl. Thank you so much for your time, Carl. I really appreciate it. I know you understand you're very busy right now. And where can the people find you on social media at?
Yeah, I've got my Twitter that I use mainly. That's at Carl Greaves Pro. I've got a Facebook page for my promotions, Carl Greaves Promotions. I'm on Facebook, Carl Greaves, but I've got hundreds of people waiting for me to accept, and I've got nowhere. I'm over the 5,000 limit. So, yeah, and Instagram, I don't use Instagram. I think my daughter set me an account up, but like I said before, I mean, I know Instagram's one of the best out there in social media, but it's just, you can be on it too much. And I'm 44 years old. I'm very, very busy, and you end up finding yourself scrolling through, and just takes all your time up. So I'm very happy with my Twitter. I'm happy with that.
I'll put the Twitter in the link in the description. All right, Carl, thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate it.
No worries, Fred. Thank you.